We're going to see which one comes up first. As always, well, we're live on Facebook on both platforms.
Yes,
Instagram's coming.
It's
chugging. Welcome, everybody. It's so good as we're waiting for Instagram to come through. It is a little bit of a challenge. So hopefully Instagram, hopefully you people are seeing us. It's checking our connection. But welcome to Monday Night Live.
Yes. Here at the TurningLeaf Wellness Center with Dean Nixon, and I'm Kate Semmens.
Yes. We're excited to come at you live tonight and be able to share with you some insights and some cool things on coaching, life coaching, as well as coping skills, and as Kate will call it, life hacks.
Yes, hashtag life hacks.
Love it.
Okay, you guys, we are going to do something really quick because every week we try something new, and this one is not working. So we took my phone off of the Wi-Fi. It's running our Instagram, and we're just trying to get it through the mobile service, and it's not connecting. So I'm just going to do it.
Do it.
I'm just going to connect it via the Wi-Fi.
We're going to have to see what happens here.
Your connection isn't strong enough.
So we are going to have to stall for a minute as we switch over. It'll take just a moment to kick over to Wi-Fi, and we'll get back. So,
don't you love those technical issues? Living in the modern day. We've got so many wonderful things at our fingertips, and then they bug out.
All the issues that we deal with is so interesting to me today.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. We should be coming up live on Instagram. We'll see if...
There it is.
Just took a minute.
Touch anything and
well, welcome everybody from Instagram world. We've been on Facebook for a moment or two, about 2 minutes. So welcome to Monday Night Live as we get started. So we've been working on 8 coping skills. We've been going through them. We've been talking through each of them, each of the chapters based upon the book, The Key.
And if you could remember, if you've been watching our little series on the coping skills, like Dean just said. So The Key was written just a couple years ago,
About 2 years ago was completed,
by ours truly, Dean, and Lee Kelley.
Yes.
Shout out to Lee. Hey,
Big
Lee, what's
shout
up?
Out. Yes.
And we have been every week just going on a different coping skill, and tonight we are on our next one.
Yes.
Which is evidence.
Evidence.
So if you can remember, we follow young Isaac through this story, right? And we've learned about focus. We've learned about acceptance and about communication. Those are the last few coping skills that we've talked about. So if you haven't seen those, go check out our other lives. You can find them on our Facebook page or in a minute on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm working on getting that done.
Kate's been uploading them all.
So we followed Isaac on his journey as he's been learning the coping skills. And now on his exciting adventure, he has gone to visit a doctor.
Yes, in Colombia.
In Colombia.
South America. And this is where he's going to learn about the coping skill of evidence and the importance of gathering evidence. And so just a quick note as to why this book is written. Through this last probably about 10 years, it's been interesting to really watch us struggle as a society, specifically with the way social media is impacting us, the way that life and marriage and all these things have been impacting. And the more as clients are coming in and sitting down and talking, and the more working with clients, young and old, teens and adults, the one thing that has become more and more evident to me is that we just are really struggling with coping and the ability to cope, the ability to really cope with things in a way that helps us move forward. And we're learning to cope with things through food and through work and through sex and drugs and alcohol, all the old things.
All the avoidant pieces.
The avoidant pieces. And we've used all these avoidances for so long that they've just become second nature to us. And as a consequence of that, we really aren't coping anymore. We're just allowing ourselves to numb out or to zone out. And it's really interesting. I even remember as a kid, the concept of if you don't feel good about who you are, go do something for someone else, which even that in and of itself can be unhealthy in the sense that if I'm going out there to do something for someone else so they'll tell me I'm awesome, now I'm creating a codependency.
Right.
So I'm not even really learning to cope. I'm just learning to do for others. And we see that. I get parents and adults alike that come in and sit down and say, I've totally lost myself. I've lost myself in doing for everybody else, and I don't do anything I want to do anymore, and I don't have time. So that's where this came from, was the need to really learn how to cope. And so we created the 8 essential coping skills, and then from that we wrote the book.
And isn't it interesting that some of those avoidant tactics, right, that we were just talking about, we kind of have been a little bit programmed to think that those are coping skills.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we do. We think that avoidance, like I always talk about kids when we're young and we walk in and we tell our parents we're bored. What do our parents tell us to do?
Well, go do something.
Go do something.
If you want something to do, I can fill your time.
Or I'll fill your time with something. Yeah, so we're either programmed when we're bored because I don't like the emotion, I don't like the feeling of being bored. So then I go out and I go find a friend, go find something to do, go find something to cover that emotion, rather than helping that child understand, well, where is this coming from? Why are you feeling bored? Well, I'm feeling bored because my friends aren't around, or I can't play with people, or people don't like me, or feelings of insecurity or uneasiness and anxiety. And that was the thing that was really telling, is that we've learned to take healthy things like work and exercise and all these things, and we're even turning them into unhealthy things.
Absolutely. So it's pretty powerful to be able to visit in and see what actual coping skills look like, instead of what you may think, oh yeah, I've got my own coping skills. In my case, they were all pretty avoidant, and I thought that I was coping, right? But not true. Not
necessarily. And it feels like we're coping because the discomfort temporarily goes away.
Right.
And that's the interesting thing, is we can tell when it's an unhealthy coping skill versus a healthy coping skill. An unhealthy coping skill really doesn't give us other options. It doesn't really move us forward. It just numbs the pain.
Right. Momentary relief.
Right. But a long-term coping skill gives me more options. It gives me more freedom. It gives me more ability to have what I need the most. And we're really struggling with depression a lot in our world today. And depression is really coming a lot from our feelings of hopelessness and really not feeling that I have any hope. And that's coming because we're looking through these glass windows that we call screens, and we see how everybody else's life is better and how I should have this and I should have that, and my life isn't good enough. And we take that wonderful quote, I love using it, we take the best of somebody and compare it to the worst of ourselves, and we somehow equate ourselves always coming up short.
Right.
And so that's where this coping skills and using healthy coping skills gives us more hope. And that's what Isaac does here. As Isaac goes into a very tough situation, he's in Colombia, he's with Ricardo Medina, and he's down there and he's going through this process of learning how to gather evidence. Ricardo's a doctor. He's trying to cure a disease that's come from, it's a waterborne pathogen that's affecting these people in the Amazon. And it's one of those experiences where he really has a huge paradigm shift.
So the doctor asks Isaac to join with him for the day and gives him a camera.
Yep.
And asks him to
and
a notebook, and asks him to collect evidence, like just document things, whatever it is that you see. And so Isaac works hard all day, and he finds lots of really terrible things going on, right? Like he finds all of the sad, scary, hard things that are happening for this tribe of people. And he comes back at the end of the day and shares with the doctor everything that he's found. And he's like, oh, geez. And they have a conversation about it. And I love it because, so here in the book, I'm on page 48, by the way, if you're following along, if you have your copy. If not, I'll post again where you can find it on Amazon. My favorite shopping addiction, avoidance, Amazon.
And they're grateful.
Yes, they are grateful. So he shows the doctor everything that he found, and Ricardo said, well, where's the rest of it? And Isaac says, well, what do you mean? Why are all the photos like this? Meaning just the doom and gloom. And he says, I'm sorry to understand. You asked me to take pictures of what was going wrong. And Ricardo said, no, I asked you to document what you see. isn't it interesting, the photographs that you took and what it says about your focus, which if you can remember, focus was the first coping skill we talked about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And I guess that's where my question is, why are these all photos of wounds and sickness? It's like these are all worst case scenario. And I like when the first time I read that, I was so like, oh my gosh, we do that like just specifically individually, but generalizing us as a country and as a society, that's what we first look for. That's what we first see. I mean, it's the reason tabloids are even a thing, right? Like you're walking through the grocery line to buy all your stuff and all you see is like all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world because it sells and we're addicted to it.
Yep.
And so I love that was kind of the first piece that you guys brought out as far as looking for evidence.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about it is the reason we do that is because we as humans have a dysfunctional thinking. And the dysfunctional thinking is that if I can figure out what's wrong and I can fix it, then everything gets better. And when it comes to objects, that's true. When it comes to your car, when it comes to your refrigerator, your disposal, all those things, yeah, you're right. If you can figure out what's wrong and fix that one thing, it will make the rest work. Mm-hmm. But humans are more complex than that. We can't focus on what's wrong with me, what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that. But yet that's what Isaac was doing, is he was going through and finding all the things that they were doing wrong, that were making them sick or making them ill or exposing them to this pathogen. And that's where Ricardo was saying, well, where's the rest of the evidence? Right. Where's the rest of it? Why are you only presenting one side of the equation? And so then that's where he has that great experience of going back the next day and experiencing that culture, that village from a whole different aspect. And I see this a lot. Like we wake up every morning and we start gathering evidence about ourselves. We start asking ourselves, well, why does my back hurt? What's wrong with me? Or why is my stomach upset? What's wrong? Am I nervous? Am I anxious? And the whole time we're trying to figure out what's wrong and trying to fix the things that are wrong. So we get to a point where we don't see anything but what's wrong.
All we see is the wrong.
And it reminds me of those grumpy people that just sit in their homes all day and they read the newspaper or they read the tabloids or they read, watch the news, and it's all about this gloom and doom, as you put it. And pretty soon they're cynical and they're skeptical. They don't trust anybody. They have a hard time allowing themselves to enjoy life.
Yeah, their relationships are not great because all they see is what's wrong with everybody and everything.
And it's always everybody else. And instead of stepping back and going, it's not about who's wrong, it's not about who's right, it's about what is working, what is not working, what is healthy, what is not healthy. And when we can base it off of that, that's where we start finding options. Because if I base my evidence off of what's wrong with me, I'm looking for what's broken in me or what's broken in those other people. And in our minds, broken things can't be fixed.
Yeah.
But if we step back and we go, what's not working or what's unhealthy, now I have hope. Now I have more options, like we were talking about. Coping skills give us hope. Coping skills have options. They give us alternatives. And so now all of a sudden I'm looking for all the things that are unhealthy or all the things that aren't working, and I can start to do something about those. I can start coming up with solutions and options. And it's a very liberating, powerful experience. When people come in and they sit down and we start helping them unravel those pieces, it's a really powerful moment. It's when the light bulbs really do start going off. And it's really interesting to watch, because one of the comments I always get when people leave my office is how much lighter they feel, how much happier they feel, how much more free they feel. And it's such a powerful moment.
Which is also what happens for Isaac here in the book. So he goes back the next day, like Dean was saying, to the village. And one of the first things that he sees is some children playing in the water. And they're just being kids and having the blast in the water. And he's like, oh my gosh, takes a picture of it and is in awe of how in that scenario, in that life circumstance, there's still all this joy. So then he goes on capturing more of a broad experience for the next day and seeing where people are happy and maybe where they are struggling, but finding those pieces in there of joy. And I think that's another piece that I also love about this evidence coping skill is we typically find what we're looking for. So if you're in the habit of looking for all of the bad, of course it's going to show up for you. It's what you're looking for. But if you can flip that and start looking at what is working, what is healthy for me right now, then you're also going to be seeing more of the positive things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where one of the pieces that's so powerful about that is that what Isaac finds and what they're learning as they're trying to help this village is sometimes the answers aren't always focusing on what's wrong with me. Sometimes it's what is healthy about me. And as he saw the kids playing and learning, hey, there's something we can do here. And we can take the working things that are already happening in our lives. And that's one of the things I find that's so powerful when I can get a client in here or couples in here or a teen in here, and we start talking about the things that are working.
Right.
We can actually find the answers in what's working for the things that are not working. And it's because, well, I'm using this tool over here. Well, it may apply over here too. But if I'm so busy focusing on what's wrong with me, I don't even look at my tools. I don't even look at all the things. And that's the most amazing thing is anybody watching right now, what you're doing in life is working. And the reason I know, because you're watching. And if you weren't capable, if you weren't able to do some of those things, to be able to afford and have the moments and opportunities, and not afford by like financially, but like time and energy, etc., to be watching right now, there's something in your life that's working. There's something in your life that's healthy. And the fact that you're engaging right now, that's something that you've got to figure out and use that and learn as, well, what is that tool? What am I using that's moving me forward? And if I'm always looking at what's wrong, I'll never see it. But if I start looking at what's healthy or unhealthy, working or not working, now I start going, oh, well, look, I'm doing these things over here. Maybe they'll fit over here too. And sometimes we need help with that. And that's the cool part.
Super cool. Another thing I really love about what Dean and Lee bring out in the book as far as evidence is concerned is oftentimes we got to really collect it, right? It's almost like a squirrel storing up its nuts for the winter, right? Like you got to have that storage space because there's going to be days when you're running low, right? And you're like, man, nothing's working for me. This whole life thing, it's just not great, right?
Amen. Yeah.
And so if you can pull out like a journal, like a blog, if you keep a blog, pictures, whatever it is that works for you, like Isaac physically gathered all of that evidence, right?
Right.
And I think that's a really key piece to this. Like have a place where you're writing down all of your evidence.
Absolutely.
What is working for you? All the cool places that you did use a coping skill and it moved you forward, right? Like all of those amazing things. So when you're running low, you have a place to go back and check it out and be like, no, I got this.
Yeah.
And I can use this tool to apply to this situation.
Right.
Which is so, once again, powerful for each of us.
And one of the things that I want to point out about that's so important for us is in cultures of past, we spent a lot of time sitting around the fire talking and telling stories. And that's where a lot of our anecdotes and our metaphors and our stories with morals came into them, the moral value of a story or the purpose of the story. And that's where a lot of that teaching was done. But we don't really do that now. Now we just turn something on and we just watch it and we allow ourselves to be programmed. And that's the intriguing piece to me is that one of my favorite books, I'm going to grab it right here. One of my favorite books is called Becoming Supernatural. Kate turned me on to it. It was a really great book.
It's a great
and he
book.
talks about the alpha, the beta, and the delta brain waves. And when we're in those suggestives of the subconscious mode, when we flick on the TV and all of a sudden we zone in, we're in a subconscious state where we're very influenced. We're very suggestible. And so we allow ourselves to be just programmed. But when we were younger, when we were kids, at least for my generation, we sat around the campfire or we sat around the family room. We told stories and we sang songs and did things of that nature. And that's where a lot of those coping skills were taught and passed on. But now we don't. So if I can get a journal and I can keep a journal and I can I write down the things that I'm doing, and instead of grabbing my Instagram, instead of grabbing Facebook, instead of grabbing these other mediums or venues, I go back, you know, for those of you that have been through seminar, I go back to my notes from seminar.
Yep.
I go back to my journals. I go back to those things. I was sitting at a dinner on Saturday where one of my friends was talking about, hey, have you ever gotten all your old college papers out? He's like, I went through some of my college papers last week, and I'm like, did I really write that? And
that's cool.
You're such a powerful source of information. All of you are. You're such incredible, powerful people. And you're such a huge source of information. Why not? Why not write that down?
Right.
And get those values and morals from you.
From you. That's what I was thinking too, just barely, like, especially for you. You are a powerful source for you. Because no one knows what goes on inside of you more than you do.
That's right.
So to be able to reteach yourself in your moments of low or weakness, it's an amazing thing to do. So do yourself a favor and start collecting all of your, dare I say it, kick-ass evidence, right?
Well, we're at our 20 minutes.
Wait. I wanted to read one more thing.
Okay.
One more thing.
All right.
So at the end of every chapter in the book, Isaac gets a little note from all of his mentors. And I really liked this one from Dr. Ricardo. Dear Isaac, results reveal opportunities. Opinions reveal people's realities. And we've also talked about that before in other lives. But I love applying that to the evidence, right? Like, look for those results. Write that down. Collect your evidence about how well you're doing.
Yes.
The end.
The end. Well done. Well, we want to shout out to those that have been commenting.
Yes.
So
Hi, Carla.
Carla, hello. Vicky, hello. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, everybody that's been tuning in. It's been good to see some of the names that are bumping up here on the screen. I wish I could read them all real quick,
yes.
but my eyes.
I know. But we are so grateful
yes.
for all of it. We love it when you like and share our content so that we can reach more people, to be able to help more people gain the skills that they need in order to be able to help themselves.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday Night Live. Please like and share our videos. Follow us on YouTube. Good night.
Bye, guys.